Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm David Vogel, Judge Executive. Happy to have all of you here today for our meeting on the February 6, 2024. If you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our clerk is Tara Long. Will you please call the roll?
Magistrate Likens. Here. Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Woosley.
Here.
Magistrate Jeffries.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Hawkins. Here. Magistrate Dye.
Present.
Magistrate Logston. Here. Judge Vogel.
Here. Having all members of the fiscal court, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Are there any additions or subtractions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We're going to approve the minutes now from our last meeting. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
Second.
Second.
Are there any corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're going to begin the meeting today with a presentation from OR Partners.
Judge.
On I-71, there was an accident, so they'll be here any minute.
All right. I'll announce that for these meetings are broadcast live on YouTube, and they're also recorded. Here comes John Hollenbach now. Are you here? You're here.
I'm here.
Okay, well.
Judge, you want to do public comment first?
All right, we'll go give John just a chance to get his breath here. And there was an accident on 71, we said, our daily accident. So sorry you were caught in it, and I hope no one was hurt. We're trying hard to alleviate that problem, believe me, with enforcement and widening of the interstate. I'll go on to the other item, our next item, but then we'll come back to OR Partners. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in regard to public comment? We allow up to 4 minutes if you'd like to address the fiscal court on any issue of community concern, or sometimes it's a personal issue that has to do with a service that's impacting you. I see no one standing up for that, so now we'll go back to OR Partners. Greg Oakley has come in. Greg, when we say we'll put you on the top of the agenda, we're not fooling. So I know you'd been here, but you got caught in an accident. But welcome to the leadership of OR Partners, our partners of the Oldham County Fiscal Court and LaGrange, City of LaGrange, and our Development Authority of Oldham Reserve. Welcome, and we have John Hollenbach and Greg Oakley. So you're certainly welcome to go ahead and begin your presentation.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Judge.
David, is this set up for?
Yes, it's on the desktop.
Okay.
You may need to log in.
Let's see here.
We don't see any icons.
I don't see any.
Control Alt Delete.
Okay. Password got it.
It is.
Okay.
Just go down there if
Thank
you
you.
can't get it.
It's pretty good for me.
Get it? All right. I know it's tough to be under pressure with technology. All right.
Judge Vogel, thank you. Magistrates, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your time and look forward to giving you an update on Oldham Reserve, our 2024 project update. We always enjoy coming out and talking with everybody, and after we get through this, please feel free to ask us anything, whatever questions you might have or whatnot of our team and everybody else. what I want to do is really introduce you to our team members first. And I'm trying to look for the icon that moves us,
If you hit the X next to the pointer,
the X next to the pointer. Ah,
make that large and you can scroll it like a PowerPoint.
That'll page it.
beautiful.
Okay.
Okay, great. What we're going to do is introduce our team, go through the 2023 highlights, review some of the focus items for 2024, review our project objectives, give you a marketing and prospecting update, and then just some nice photos and aerials of some of the beautiful infrastructure that's out there and of a few facilities that we've been fortunate enough to work with and get open and operating. Our team, a lot of which are here today, Clayton Pitcock, Jeb Hollenbach, Talmadge Hocker, our partner. His father couldn't be out here with us today, and Doug Wood, who is somewhere in here. Hey, John Talbot. But we've assembled a team, and it's growing as we've gotten closer and closer to what we're really excited about with the opening of the new ramps and all the infrastructure that we've been working with the Oldham board, with the county, and with the chamber on for these many years. It's been a long time coming, so to speak. On behalf of the partnership and our entire team, we appreciate your all's patience. It's taken a lot of collaboration and a lot of work with you all, with the Oldham board, with the judge, with the mayor LaGrange and the city council, in our efforts to work with local, state, and even federal officials to generate as much interest and as much focus and as much money as we've been able to get to allow everything to get to the point where it is today. When we started this journey almost a decade ago, one of the things that we were preaching back then and that the judge understood and the Oldham board understood is that it was going to take time. We're dealing with a project that's almost 1,000 acres that already includes one of the best companies, one of the largest employers in the Commonwealth. And in order to facilitate the traffic for a business owner to allow his employees to get in and out, we knew we needed the additional infrastructure in place, and I believe we're about 3 months away from that happening. So we're excited where we are, we're excited where we're going, there's more work to be done, but the interest that we're starting to see now is very, very encouraging, because whereas before we were getting a lot of feedback that it just wasn't quite ready, now I think the energy that we're seeing from all the infrastructure in place, especially as I keep repeating, the ramps at I-71 is coming into play. So we're excited about that. Greg, you want to go in?
So this first slide, in working with the board over the years, and there were lots of discussions about the PUD that was in place, the master plan that was in place, the zoning was in place. And we were meeting with office users and employers, as well as retail and some of the residential multifamily, which was always intended to be a part of Oldham Reserve. And as the ramp started getting built last year, we got a clearer focus, clearer direction from the market and the retailers where they wanted to be. We initially started with focus down in this area right here, which we kind of call the arrowhead, as the primary large box retailers. And we always knew that whether it was the retailers or the jobs, the offices, the medical uses, or the residential, one of them would kick it off first. The market would drive that. And it's been different in each one of these big parks that we've done, and this is our 5th one. But as we got some clarity from the market and where the retailers wanted to be, we were then able to go back and modify the master plan, and that's what this is. We made these modifications over about 18 months, solidified them early last year, and then took that with the blessing of the Oldham board to the judge and the mayor. And then we took this to planning and zoning, had our public hearing, and our master plan was revised. And these are always living documents as the market goes, and these areas will change, but the basic premise of Oldham Reserve won't change. Some of the pink may become magenta, some of the yellow may become green as we move the pieces around, and the market will drive that. So our first big document that we modified was this master plan, which we did last April, which then allowed us to go on to item number 2, which was the infrastructure. We had been planning and looking at infrastructure for years, but until the pieces moved around and the densities and demands weren't more understood, it was just a planning document. With this in place, we could then focus on infrastructure, and that's not only roads, but it's big ticket items like sewers and lift stations and distribution for power and water. So we modified our infrastructure plan and budget, and then shared it with the board, and that now melds nicely with the master plan.
Yeah, we're also getting a lot of feedback from a lot of the retailers. Our partners, the Hawker Group, has been leading that effort. And so the pieces of the puzzle are starting to move around, and it's logical as to how they're moving, especially with what we've seen as it relates to other business parks, as Greg mentioned, that we've developed, where the retailers want to be, where the office wants to come in as it relates to that, and then other uses, especially in a diverse business park like this, relative to housing options and also flex projects, which are becoming more and more pertinent in our community with UPS being here and others. So I think at the next Oldham board, we're going to have an update on some of those efforts. We're working with several significant retailers that aren't currently in the LaGrange area that we're excited about. Those will help sort of become the center of what we're looking relative to the other retail uses that'll feed off of that and support that for the area. So we're starting to move some pieces of the puzzle, still keeping the focus on what we know the judge and everybody here was expecting when we started this, which is the creation of jobs and that economic base that we know is so important for what we think Oldham Reserve will be. This park is a little unique in the sense that in some of the other developments we've been involved in, multifamily and other residential uses have developed around our parks and supported our parks. We have the pleasure of being able to incorporate those into this park. And the pieces all matter to one another. The retailers want the rooftops, the business owners want the options for housing for their employees, the business owners want places for their employees to take their children to childcare, different places to eat, different places for their customers when they come in to stay. So it's all different pieces of the puzzle, and each project's a little different, but one always feeds the other. So we're not that concerned about which comes first because we're selling sort of the entire package here. So it's coming along as we hoped it would, and the timing and the reception from what Talmadge and Talmadge Jr. are getting from the retailers is tied directly to what we'd anticipated with the ramp construction and the ramp completion.
So this next slide, with the master plan, we made some modifications to the master plan. With the master plan modifications and the infrastructure modifications, then we proceeded in April, our partners, to buy 73 acres. And this red indicates the acreage that we bought. We went ahead and set the alignment. West Peak was pretty much, the alignment was set. What the unknown is the vertical. What are the slopes? What are the grades going to be? And we've done a number of studies, working with the different retailers on, depending on where the big box goes, that's going to determine, how we need to build West Peak. So as soon as the first one of those lands, we can finish up the vertical alignment of Peak Road. But this shows the general plan of what we bought and how it plugs into the previous slide of the master development plan. We went ahead and got everything in red we bought. There's a kind of that boot-shaped piece to the bottom left. We went ahead and took that through planning and zoning. We didn't change the use of that, but we needed to get that platted to create the alignment of Peak Road. So we've done a lot of forward planning here, not only the infrastructure, the utilities, but also road alignments and those kind of things. And we've done probably 12 different plans with these different retailers to either put them in the red or put them down in the bottom of the arrowhead there. And that's, they'll determine where they want to go, and we'll fit their needs. So this was another step for us to buy 73 acres last year, which was, a significant sale.
And as part of that, the master development agreement that we executed with the Oldham board and the blessing of magistrates here at Fiscal Court, as well as the City Commission and the Mayor of LaGrange, we had certain milestones that we needed to achieve in order to keep that master development agreement relevant. And as the infrastructure took a little longer, even though we were, I think, working as hard as we could to get it coming along, buying this 73 acres fulfilled our commitment at the standards at the first 5 years, the second 5 years, and at the end of the project. With what we're starting to see happening now, there may be a chance here in the very near future we might have to buy some additional land, which I'm sure you all will be happy to hear. But with the feedback we're getting from the retailers we're working with and the multifamily partner that we're well underway with, that may be something that we're back to talk to you all about in the not too distant future. So the Peak Road Extension West is something that we will facilitate construction of. The agreements that we've executed with the Oldham board have certain requirements on funding as we sell lots for where any profits, relatively speaking, from those sales will go, and the first $3 million is to go into an infrastructure escrow account that will be generated by sales to third parties, and that'll be used for infrastructure only. So whether it's the extension of Peak Road East or the construction of Peak Road West, those will be dollars that we are accountable and responsible for.
John, you want to run your cursor or whatever that is over Peak Road East and West so that
Absolutely,
people
absolutely.
who are, put that back up on the screen.
This is the
TV there.
roundabout. What you're looking at up on the
Right.
screen is really just about,
Yeah,
I don't know, a
show
quarter
where
of the
that is.
property. This is the roundabout. Peak Road East follows it right through here. We did extend Peak Road East when we made the sale to Trilogy. Trilogy is currently looking at an expansion. Their numbers and their projections, they're well ahead of that. So they're thrilled to be out in LaGrange, and we're excited to continue to work with them on a little different concept of joining that lot on this 3-acre tract here. We constructed Peak Road East here. Peak Road West goes all the way out to Ernie Harris, and that'll be at our expense. And that will be tied, as Greg said, tied to the first users in this area. Setting the line of the road is not that difficult, but it can be impacted by certain users. Doug Wood and Ben Turner and Greg will tell you it's setting the elevation that's so important. So just putting the infrastructure in without understanding the nature of the impact on that elevation before we get the user in is not always the best approach. So we're ready to go with it, and hopefully if some of this activity materializes the way we think it will, there will be some more construction out there in the not too distant future. You want to talk about that?
Item number 4 was a big infrastructure item, and Fiscal Court, you guys saw this, I think, about 3 months ago. In our planning, there was as few as 2 or as many as 4 lift stations going to be required to get the sewage from down the hill up Eden to the treatment plant over here. There is going to be one required over here for the highest value retail property, a small lift station. At one point, we had one here at the intersection of Eden and Ernie Harris, but that was going to cost a few $1 million, and it would only carry us for a couple of years. Ultimately, off the bottom of the page here, is where the lift station needed to go for Oldham Reserve. But from a bigger picture, LaGrange Utilities is under their agreed order with the State Division of Water, they needed to take some small package plants offline. So the community needed a larger pump station than we did. So working with the board worked with the Grand Utilities and Fiscal Court in the city. We all came together and agreed on what was the best long-term solution for the community, and it was to build this larger pump station, which is not on Oldham Reserve property, it's just off our property, but it will serve that larger area. I think we were somewhere around a third of the volume of the pump station.
And you guys project, I'm not sure people in the back of the room can hear you. You kind of have to.
All right.
Force yourself to speak a little normal, a little louder than you might.
All right.
Is that better?
Yeah, I'm getting this from the back of the room.
Okay. All right. Mr. Talbot, can you hear us? Yes, sir. So that pump station was a large joint effort between the Grand Utilities, the city, the county, and Oldham Reserve, and that's what came before you a few months ago, a funding mechanism for that pump station, which will allow us to ultimately, that was the big ticket, the long lead item for us to be able to deliver anywhere in Oldham Reserve. It's been about a year and a half of discussion. The pump station is designed, it's been submitted to Frankfurt for approval. We've been working with the board and the city and the county on procurement methods. We've worked out those documents, so we'll be ready to go ahead and hit the street with the bidding of this as soon as we get some feedback from Frankfurt. We need Division of Water approval on that. So that was the other big highlight of 2023, working out the utilities, getting the rezoning, us buying 73 acres and getting this pump station location, design, size, funding resolved.
Another part of that is with this pump station going in, there are significant portions of the park that will be available for other users and other development. We can build a building while we're getting the utilities and any roads and everything to a particular site. So it's not just significant for where we're going right now, where we're going first, but for a significant portion of the property heading over to 53 down Ernie Harris. So we're going to be open for business, but with the construction of this pump station, a much larger portion of the development is going to be open for business for multiple uses that the Oldham board and you all might want to consider down the road. There's just a ton of activity, as you all well know, coming up the 71 corridor now, which is all great for LaGrange. I mean, we're excited about the retail that's there. We're excited about the Baptist expansion. We're excited about the continuing commitment of the Rawlings Group. There's just a lot of activity, and as things continue to grow out this way with all the work that we hope starts soon down at the Crestwood interchange at 146, the activity here and the traffic patterns for where businesses are looking and where they're considering are just going to get better and better. So everything going on in Oldham County is helping with what we're doing out in this park. Understanding once again that this park is a focal point for a tax base that we know this community wants. And there's a lot going on in the community that I think will ultimately, very shortly we hope, start looking at LaGrange and Oldham County as an alternative. Oop. There we go.
So we're pretty excited about the pump station, as you can tell. Chairman Dye has learned more about sewers, I think, than he ever thought he'd have to endure. But this is the pump station site. Again, it was a joint effort between the Grand Utilities, Division of Water. There were some discussions with MSD. We had to find a site that would work from an engineering standpoint that was large enough, adaptable enough. It took about a year to find a site that would work. We looked at multiple Scott Reese and LaGrange Utilities, looked at numerous sites. Some of them were a mile away. It was another $1 million to build. We ultimately arrived at a good solution for everyone. Like we said, not just Oldham Reserve, but LaGrange and unincorporated Oldham County as well. So this is the pump station plan that's been submitted to Frankfurt. As soon as we get comments back from Frankfurt, Scott will probably have to make a few adjustments, but we have the site, we have the location, we've got the engineering, we've got power, all the things, water, the things that a pump station needs. So this was a huge a huge accomplishment collectively.
What's that intersection we're looking at there?
That is Moody Lane and,
Moody and,
yes, sir.
It's
53?
It's south. It's south of Oldham Reserve. About was Doug here? Was it a mile?
and that's not 53 going
No,
No,
to the
sir.
top of
we're
the page.
we're
What is
west
it?
of 53.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But
You know, it's a little bit east of Fievel. A little west of Fievel.
Okay. Wayno? Is that Wayno Drive? Okay.
Is this the existing one that MSD has right now, or is it close to that?
It's adjacent to MSD? Okay. Is that the package plant at the top that's kind of ghosted out?
The existing
Yeah.
plant with the construction of this one.
MSD will get rid of that, and then this one will take its place.
Yes.
It'll pump to LaGrange.
Got it.
And this facility is designed to serve much more than just Oldham Reserve ultimately. So it's going to create a bunch of opportunities for the city of LaGrange and other areas of Oldham County as well.
Item number 6 was another huge collective effort between the board, city, the county, our environmental consultants. There is a 20-year-old permit in place with the Corps of Engineers, which, when we got involved, we noticed right away was very, very restrictive on our flexibility to market and develop parts of Oldham Reserve. The number was something like 43,000 lineal feet of streams were restricted from development. We couldn't touch them, even if we paid a large fee. Those streams were just couldn't be touched. We couldn't pipe them and fill in and create lots. And if you're familiar with that area, there's a whole lot of fingers, a lot of streams that run up the hill from Ernie Harris up the hill, up Peak, and up Eden Parkway. And it was a real difficult permit to try to work around. We've been working with the environmental engineers since we've been involved. Chairman Dyes heard updates every single month at every single board meeting. We came up with a plan that the board approved and had Rez is the environmental engineer, submit a preliminary application to the Corps of Engineers. There was a lot of years worth of negotiations. Anyway, the end result was in December, they agreed to our plan to move forward. Now, there's going to have to be some fees paid to free up streams that were encumbered, but the value of those streams are more than the impact fees that will have to be paid. So that was another huge impediment to free us up on development. So that was filed in December of '23 in the spring, and that permit is also tied to freeing up some of the sewers that we'll need to be building to feed the pump station. So those two kind of go hand in hand, which were precipitated by the master plan, and all these things all tied together. They're their own separate pieces, but they all coalesce into allowing us to move forward with infrastructure and development.
Greg, why don't you give them a little definition of what you're thinking of when you say stream?
The Corps of Engineers, anything that has water in it at any part of the year. You've probably all got streams in your backyard that are regulated by the Corps of Engineers. You just don't know it. Anything that ever gets water in it under our permit was a regulated stream.
So it can be dry 10,
364
12 of
days
the
a
year,
year.
but if it's wet for a week, it's a stream.
Some people call them ditches.
Yeah. Okay. It's been a lot of problem.
Okay, focus items for 2024. Obviously, number one is completion of the I-71 ramps. We've been in contact with the state as well as Louisville Paving doing the work, and we're told at this point they anticipate the ramps being open for business just in a couple months in April. So that's a long time in coming, and we're looking forward to celebrating that date. Greg just went through item number 2, beginning construction of the new pump station and sanitary force main. It's not just needed. We have lots that can be developed without this, and that's what we're hoping to start with, which is why we bought the land where we did, the first 73 acres that Greg referenced earlier. But this will really open up most of the park for future development, flex buildings, other things that'll be in different phases of what we're going to be developing. Our multifamily development, we're finalizing an agreement with a multifamily partner right now. We're probably not too far off from presenting that to the Oldham board. This is something that we've gotten a lot of feedback on that we're really, really excited about. I think it'll be a project that the quality of which will be fairly new to the city of LaGrange, so we're also excited about that. And the pieces keep moving around as they always do in this development, so we'll have something else for the board to consider here in the next month or so. And we're hoping to begin design spring to summer and possibly start construction, Judge, the latter part of this year. So we're really, really excited about that and about the quality of what we're working on. Another focus item is to attract mixed-use retail and office users to the park. The Hawker Group is diligently working with multiple potential retailers. We're under an NDA, so we can't disclose who they are right now. They take that very serious. But like with anything, as we look at where this is going to start, we want to have a retail project that feeds all the other retail users that we think this city and this county want to attract, and that we think will really help in attracting the businesses and others to the park. So this isn't, we don't believe, something that's going to really compete with much that is out here right now, but some new retailers that we're working on that we think will really add to the area and the options for everybody that lives out here. We're going to continue working with LG&E and KU on a potential substation site in the park. We've had a lot of discussions over the last year and a half, and this is something that we had to work closely with them on because LG&E and KU had to decide who was going to get the park. Isn't that right?
Yeah, their service area met about on Peak Road. One side of the hill was LG&E, the other side of the hill was KU. Even though they're brothers, they had to figure it out. So part of our task was to provide them what we expect, where we expected the greatest loads to be. It took 6 months to explain that. But they've started their internal planning. About a year ago, we agreed on a site that they thought would work, that we thought would work, and that's next to the sewer treatment plant on New Moody, just west of the treatment plant facing New Moody. We, in meeting with the board, and David Bizanos was a big help, and kind of his contacts at LG and our contacts with LG&E, they've decided who's going to control this moving ahead. We know who we'll be working with for the distribution in the park. In this substation, we gave them a right of entry, I think, 3 months ago. It took 9 months to negotiate. Yeah, come on and do your surveying, but they've done that. We got some feedback, actually just yesterday, that, hey, you guys are right, this site will work for us. We like it. So they're doing some more due diligence, title research, those kind of things. Now that they've figured out where their site would be, now they have some idea how much demand we're going to have, then they need to figure out how they're going to get from point A to point B being the location of the substation. So they're working on that now. If it takes another 2 years, it wouldn't surprise me. But in 2 years, we'll have a lot of construction going on out there, and that'll precipitate them moving a little bit quicker. So good feedback from them. We've worked with them for 30 years. It just takes a while.
Yeah, and the site we propose, we're trying to cluster these uses together. So we have the existing pump station that's down off New Moody Lane. The site we proposed that looks like it might work for them was a 5-acre tract adjoining that. That is some of the more challenging property to develop for our purposes, not necessarily what they want. So giving a further buffer to the treatment plant for a lot of what we have scheduled in that quadrant will help us considerably.
And in working with them in the past, there's a substation on Old Henry Road. If anybody goes to Publix, you can see where it is right across from Publix. And we did one with them on Bluegrass Parkway. We required them to put some screening, landscape screening, and some masonry screening around it. So it'll be attractive, but it'll be an easy, quick grab power for us to distribute through the park. So we like the location. We've quoted them a price. They haven't balked at that. It's consistent with what they've paid in the past. And other developments, they're moving forward. It's just going to take a while to get through the due diligence.
Yeah.
But we've planned around it with our 73 acres and the retail users we're looking at as well.
And then the last item on these focal points is number 6, which is to continue discussions with Trilogy on the potential cottages, which will probably require an extension of Peak Road East. They're looking at 13 to 15 cottages, but the real energy here is how pleased they are being out here and how good the reception's been for what they developed in Oldham Reserve. So we're really excited about that.
It was a bit of a challenge. They took the right of first refusal for an adjoining 3-acre tract. So we set the alignment of Peak Road, planned the infrastructure around that, and they were going to have 12 building pads, 24 cottages. So we planned around that. They came back to us last year and said, yeah, we're ready to talk about moving ahead. We need to get 15 pads on there. And we said, well, that's a bit of a challenge. We worked with them. The only 2 solutions were to either move Peak, which we had just finished, and moving the road is one thing, moving water, sewer, and electric's another thing. Then we looked at maybe buying 30, 40 feet of Eagle Creek. That didn't come to fruition. So we worked with Trilogy and their engineers and their staff, and we've come up with a plan to get 13 pads and a clubhouse. Met with Jim Urban and the planning folks. Got to explain to them what we needed to do, what we were looking to do. Made our explanation of setbacks and those kind of things. We don't want to have to ask for waivers. And I think Jim and his crew agreed that this plan will work. So that's evolved in the last 2 or 3 months. And we're supposed to get some feedback from them 1st of March on if they're ready to move ahead. Here again, that's 3 years of discussions.
The project objectives, I think we cover a lot of this and almost everything we speak to, but we understand that our goal is to create a Class A business park, something that is going to be here for a long, long time after we're gone, and something the community can be proud of, and something that represents not only the city of LaGrange, but what Oldham County is altogether. So we're here to diversify the tax base, and that's the focus, and that's what we'll continue to do with this business park as we have many others. But it's also to create quality and sustainable jobs. One of the things we've been talking to the older board about, and directly to the judge and the mayor, are the different uses. As you all know, because of COVID and a number of other things, the office market as a whole is still figuring itself out a little bit right now. I'm sure you all read the papers that the Central Business District in Louisville is having some struggles. But what we've seen real activity in are sort of tech companies, what we call office service or flex, and they're beautiful office-looking buildings, but they might have a lab component to it. So the quality of the jobs are the same. If they might have 100 engineers working in there, but the facilities are for their specific use. But with UPS being located here, with just up north of Kentucky, and the facilities they have up there being in pretty close proximity, and with LaGrange being located, Oldham County being located within a 500-mile radius of half the population in the U.S., these users are coming. There's a talent pool here because of GE in terms of the engineers, and that access to those flights and their ability to distribute throughout the world for their North American operations is really starting to show some activity. So we have the flexibility we need right now. And I think the reception is, if they're the right kind of companies, if they're the right kind of jobs, if it's the right kind of user, bring them to us, let's talk about it and see if we can get some activity from it. The office market is just shaking it out. It's not going away. I don't think it's going away. I think you're starting to see people come back to the office. But different companies have different standards for when that's going to happen and how they're going to put that in place. Collaboration and cooperation with most of the office users that we talk to is a key component. So we need to create an environment here for all those users that the company wants to locate in to allow them to attract and retain the best talent, because that's what it's all about. And that's a real plus, I think, for Oldham County in general. Improve infrastructure, that's been well underway as we've been talking to you all. There's quite a bit of infrastructure that we're responsible for, not just Peak Road West and the balance of Peak Road East, but if you noticed on the previous plan, the extension of Moody Lane from where it was terminated with the construction of the ramps all the way up through the park and up to Peak Road at one end and Ernie Harris at the other, that's on us. And that'll be coming as we figure out all the components of the retail and other users that are going to go in there. And you know, the idea here, and I think the master plan reflects it with the diversity and the uses that the zoning allows, is to create, you know, we usually say live, work, play. We switched it around because it's work, live, play, keeping with the focus of the tax base and the jobs that we want to come, because they all feed off of each other. You need all of those components for one to work and the other to work. So being able to present that the way we are and with the reality of what the vision is and what the master plan shows is a real nice selling point for us when we're talking to different users that might be interested in coming to the area.
I think I'll add one thing and just maybe reinforce that. The magistrates need to know at every single meeting the judge says, places to eat are great, places to eat or shop are great, places to live are great. We want jobs. So that's what we're focused on.
Mayor says that too.
That's true.
I know you guys are, we put, recently city and county put in about 16 or 17 million dollars, keep moving this forward. And I know you're trying to give us our money's worth today, but I'm keeping an eye on the clock because we all have to be somewhere around 6 o'clock. So
Believe me, we can speed it up. Absolutely, absolutely.
So maybe we wind it up in
Yes, sir.
5 minutes here. Or so if we
We'll
could.
be done in
Okay.
that time. That'd be perfect.
Okay.
Marketing prospecting, we've added some new team members to the Hollenbach, Oakley, and Hawker Group team, which is OR partners. A lot of different marketing efforts going on right now. The signage updates and additional signs, as you all can see, have been installed. We're getting a much larger presence on social media with postings on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, getting a lot of great impressions from that. There's a lot to show now. It's some of the most beautiful infrastructure in the world, but infrastructure is only worth what you spend on it if it can accommodate the traffic that you want to bring in order to develop the business park. When we bought our first 73 acres, we had a really nice piece in Business First, which, as you all know, is really the local focal point for what's going on in the business community. And then our paper followed 3 months later with an article on what's happening in Oldham Reserve. The opening of the ramps is really going to be a critical point for us to bring all of it together. You know, everybody's been waiting patiently and wondering when it's going to happen and when it's going to be ready. And with the cooperation of the Oldham Board, the county, and the city on the sewer and the infrastructure, with everything that we've been working on together for the last 8 to 10 years, it's all finally coming together with what we're seeing here with the ramps, and we'll probably be the first developers to put a shovel in the ground with the one project that we're thinking or hoping will start this year. We hired C2 to create some videos that you'll see on the Oldham Reserve website, and we've got a real focus on digital marketing campaigns coming up in the second quarter to tie into what we were talking about as it relates to the ramps opening, and I guess we call it the official coming out party, even though we have a magnificent, 1,800 employee company already back there and some other things going on. For the rest of everything, we're excited about that. Just to wrap it up, we fly drones every month out there to see what's going on, and we love this imagery. Most people might not, but this really excites us because it's taken a monumental effort with everybody's help to get it to this point. And we hope to have a whole lot more to be reporting to you all in the near future about some of the activity and some of the things under consideration, in addition to Trilogy and whatever else we discussed that we're working on. So that's really all we have. If
Okay.
you have any questions or anything that you'd like us to answer right now, we'd be
Okay, we
happy
can
to.
take a minute or two. Anybody on the court? Magistrate Hawkins.
When approached by a business owner considering Oldham Reserve, what do you tell her regarding statistics? What's the percentage of rooftops versus percentage of businesses versus percentage of flex projects that you all have in your mind? And then would you also expand on your definition of flex projects, please?
Yes, can I start at the back?
Yep.
A flex project is a building that's not exclusively an office building. And we've developed a number of these over the past years. You'll have a beautiful multi-tenant building, but it really won't be multi-floors going this way, it'll be going this way. And it's a building that has a heavy office component to it, so it's still very much focused on what you consider walking in to be a traditional office, but maybe in the back portion of the space there might be light assembly, there might be a lab, there might be a lot of R&D work going on. What we're seeing today mostly are tech companies that need to mix that. They want their lab techs and their engineers working in the same building where everything else is going on as it relates to what I'd consider more traditional or typical office work. With regard to the mix, we really don't know exactly yet. There are portions of the park that really have to be residential by the nature of the configuration of the land going up into Eagle Creek between the golf courses. So we've got areas that we think are much better for multifamily, single-family townhomes. Our goal is to make every acre of this park developable and usable. Now, it'll still be a Class A business park. It'll still have all the amenities that everybody expects. You won't see crowding from that. But we're looking at every piece of property, how it's configured, what it's next to, and trying to determine the highest and best use for that property. The residential, we'd love to have beautiful townhomes or homes looking over the golf course. That just kind of ties together with what you typically see. So for the property fronting the parkways, that's going to be office, that's going to be flex, that's going to be retail. For the property that's most visible, right at the ramp and at 71, you'll see a lot more retail property. So it's really what those businesses need in terms of the visibility, the traffic, the ease of access, which will determine where they go. And it may change. Like I said, everything does, but if we're fortunate enough to get a campus user or another campus user like what you all have with Rollins now, that may push some of the other users a little further down the road. But knowing what our focus is, we're trying to keep, there are businesses or sites that we won't sell to certain users because it's the wrong site. It's not what's best for the park. The 4 5-acre corners that we purchased around the roundabout, and we've spoken with the judge and the mayor and the Oldham board about this, we have a vision for that kind of ties those 4 tracks together because it's the focal point within the park. So everything we do, these parks aren't built for everybody. Mm-hmm. It costs more to develop the way this is being developed. And the businesses that come in here want an area that represents their brand and helps them, like I said, attract and retain good people. Mm-hmm. So there's some users that come, and we've already experienced this in the past, that really just aren't a fit. They're great companies. It's just, metal shed buildings aren't really what we're envisioning for I think what you all want us to create and what we want to bring to this development. Because if you make one real bad mistake, it can affect whatever you want to do down the road, adjoining that property.
Just one
Thank
quick
you.
add to that. From a planning standpoint, looking at the master plan, looking at the topography, looking at the infrastructure, somewhere around 40% of it will be office, commercial kind of uses. The other 60% are more suited probably for residential because of topography and some of the challenges. Doesn't mean it isn't going to go 55, 45. Well, every park we've done, our plans have changed. A data center comes in, wants 30 acres. All right, we'll figure it out. A lab company comes in and needs 5 acres but 150,000 feet. We'll figure it out. But having the infrastructure and the master plan in place and this pump station, that allows us to move the pieces around. So.
Magistrate Woosley.
Judge, I just have a couple of questions for them, but before I get there, there's a couple people up here that really need some recognition to get us where we're at today. Magistrate Dye has been our representative and leadership on the Oldham board, and you left off your presentation with those ramps. Judge Vogel made a trip to D.C. He met with the Secretary of Transportation, and this was on the agenda. And I don't know that we would have gotten these done if he hadn't made that trip and lobbied for us. So just want to say thank you to both of those guys.
We completely agree.
My question to you guys is South Fork of Curry's Fork is south of Moody Lane, which is on the other side of the road of where you're building your substation at Wayno and Moody. That road has been, that creek has been known to flood that road. Do you have any plans on building up that area any to keep that creek out of the substation pond?
It'll be out of the floodplain.
Okay. And is there any plans to extend Peak Road East over to 53? So it'll come in beside Cherry House. the old Cherry House.
Ultimately, that's on the master plan. That's a long-term kind of vision.
Okay.
We need Peak West and some other things first.
Magistrate Jeffries.
Just a quick question. This presentation that y'all made today, could y'all make that available so that we could post it on our county website?
Absolutely, David. has it, so,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, perfect. And thank you all for coming. I think I'm sure excited about it. I think a lot of Oldham County will be excited to see things start to move here. So, thank you.
Well, we're excited as well. The last thing I'll say is when we made a commitment to this, we joined the Hawker Group. They'd been involved in this probably 5 years longer than we were. And the Oldham board negotiated pretty good terms for you all. We don't get paid for this. You know, we are 100% on what we think we can do relative to the vision that we jointly have to make this development work. So we've been working on this over a decade, just working sort of out of our own pocket. Great partners with all the infrastructure, as had been mentioned earlier, and everything else we're doing. But we will make this work. This park's going to be great. That's why we've hung in here that long. That's why my son wasn't even working with me when we started this. So we're really, really excited about it. It's a great piece of property. It's a great community. And all we needed to do was make sure we had all the infrastructure ready, and we'll fulfill the vision that you all have and that I think we have collectively for this development.
Are you saying you've worked here a decade, hadn't been paid yet?
Not necessarily, yeah, essentially.
All right, I'll see if Magistrate Dye had been referred. Did you have anything you'd like to add to this?
Yes, Judge, I'd like to say just a few things. First thing, John, your son came to work with you before this started. He'll be here doing this when you're gone.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay. Yeah. Greg and John, Mr. Hawker, the board. We've had several different board members over the year. Economic development people, the mayor, the judge. I'm sure I'm going to leave somebody out here, but it gets contentious. It gets argumentative in some of these meetings. Some people, I'm not going to say get their feelings hurt. But it's kind of like putting a lot of big bulls in a china shop sometime. But these guys have been great to work with. They've done everything they said they were going to do. Because I always have that little conversation with John, because I said the ramps are almost here. So I think that if the next won't be my generation or the one after, but the next generation will have something to look at and see how proud they will be of it. I mean, some of them will work there, but will not have any iota of how much time and effort is spent. And bear in mind, John, I don't get paid to be the chairman of the board either. So I get paid to be a magistrate, but it was a task that Judge Vogel asked me to do, and I said I'd do it. I think we got along pretty good. So.
And I was making a joke about that, but that is how committed we are to this project. And Bob, you're correct in that it does get a little heated, but I think that's a good thing because I think everybody's very passionate about their position, and we always walk out friends, and we ultimately come to a resolution or a conclusion that I think is going to be better for the park. So we love hearing it.
All right, thank you guys for coming and bringing your staff members, and I know you're going to also speak to LaGrange City Council here soon.
Yes, sir. Actually, we presented
Oh,
to
that
the
was
city
last
council
night.
last night.
Okay,
Yes,
you're
sir.
right. That was last night.
If you all have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Our number's on the sign, so if there's anything individually
Right,
or
I think-
directly that,
I'm hoping at some point, without putting pressure on you, we get something out there on the interstate that really says Oldham Reserve. And I know
Yes,
the
sir.
mayor has been bringing that up in the past and reinforced that. A lot of people, we've got 80,000 people a day go by there. Somebody may get an idea. So
we're going to have a big, beautiful sign up
yeah,
there, I
all
promise.
right, great.
Thank
Thank
you
you
all.
guys for coming. All right.
And as you know, John, some people get on the 71 north, and sometimes they drive very slow.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's because there's something above ahead of them.
Right. Thank you very much for coming. I'm glad you got here safely. Okay. We did have, was mentioned during the discussion about the villas and an expansion of Trilogy there, right next to the golf course. I want to congratulate the city of LaGrange and Mayor Black for their new golf course headquarters. Can't think of the proper clubhouse, I guess. It's being built there. Had a dedication for that construction last week. It's going to be a great addition to the community. It's going to be positive for LaGrange and positive for Oldham Reserve. So congratulations on that construction project. We'll move on now with, we have some bid openings here for several bids. First thing is culvert replacement. And let's see here. Is, Jim Sullivan, you want to say anything about this? Go ahead, please.
I was just going to take a seat to collect them afterwards.
All right.
But these
Well,
are for the
that's,
roadway
all right.
culverts
Where's-
that we'll be doing as part of the road improvement funding. In the
All
budget.
right, this is Maple Leaf Drive, correct?
That is one of several.
One of
included.
several here.
Yes.
Maple Leaf Drive and Forest Park Drive, Running Brook Road, and Mohawk Drive. First bid is from Louisville Paving, $157,746. Second bid, Hall Contracting, $348,450. The next bid is from Flynn Brothers, $339,750.65. Tara's getting better at this. She's, I've
been practicing at
right, yeah, right. Can't open the end with the clasp, start on the other side. All right, now here, the next bid is for Riverside Paving, $299,769. Next bid is Libs Paving, $357,088. Wingham Paving, $253,161.30. All-terrain paving and construction, $208,769. These bids will not be awarded today, nor will a couple more coming up on other projects. We'll do them at the next meeting. The next one here is the bid opening for the additional parking at Wendellmore Park.
Let me see. Get the first two.
Yeah.
Mack Construction, $247,820. Louisville Paving, $273,459. Hall Contracting, $209,093.01. You just wonder about that 1 cent, you know. Flynn Brothers, $197,902.70. Riverside Paving, $220,244. $220,244. Libs Paving, $164,422. All-Terrain Paving, $258,900. Wingham Paving, $219,440.30. Again, these will not be awarded today. The next bid opening, final one here, is for the Buckner Soccer Field Stormwater Detention Basin. Kiefer Contracting and Excavating, $173,124.33. Louisville Paving and Construction, $173,578. Flynn Brothers, $194,965.76. E&V Paving, $285,643.51. Riverside Paving, $301,414. Libs Paving, $244,246. Wingham Paving, $437,902.02.
Wow, that's more than double.
One more.
There you go. Thank you, dear.
All right. We'll announce these next week after the study. We usually, but not always, take the lowest bid. We take the lowest bid and the best bid, as determined by our engineering department. All right, I thank all the bidders. It's an effort to put these bids together, and obviously one group gets it and the rest don't, but we thank you for your attention and willingness to serve our community. Now, if we have any money left, and we do, we'll go on and pay the bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Under community business, we have the second reading and public hearing of a proposed Centerfield Drive speed limit reduction. Our county engineer will discuss that with us, and this will be a public hearing, which means that those of you who may have come to speak in favor of the reducing the speed or to speak in opposition to it will have a chance to do so. All right, go ahead.
Thank you.
Mr.
Jim Silliman, County Engineer, 100 West Jefferson Street. And again, Jim Silliman, County Engineer, 100 West Jefferson Street. This is with regard to the Centerfield Drive proposed speed limit reduction. A little bit of history. So we're looking at Centerfield Drive for striping and paving improvements for the spring year, and during that, observing that the speed limit's 45, and which is not typical for a county road, we began investigating the need for potentially reducing the speed. This is an image of the roadway Centerfield Drive from approximately 2006. And you can see the old alignment where 393 was not where it is today. And sometime between 2006 and 2007, around 2007, 393 was reconstructed. And when done so, provided an alternative to Centerfield Drive, took much of that traffic off Centerfield Drive. When we look at typical speed limits, the KRS 189.390 indicates that for state maintained roads, for a business or residential district, the typical speed limit would be 35 miles an hour. However, of course, we understand this is no longer a state road. It's just a good reference. Oldham County subdivision regulations indicate for a speed of 35 would be applicable for Collector Street. The other typical speed limit is for local streets, which is 25. So typically county roads are either 25 or 35. This road is indicated as a minor collector on KYTC's online mapping, and I would say I would agree with that based on its use. When we look at it, of course, it's currently posted 45 miles an hour, as I stated. The pavement's approximately 22 feet wide, with two 10-foot lanes. If we look at the traffic that it currently carries, again, with 393 realigned, it carries the bulk of the traffic volume. This 2019 count from KYTC indicates 6,709 vehicles per day, while Centerfield Drive carries about 474 vehicles per day. There are two curves in the road, horizontal curves. The radius of those are, as indicated here, 362 and 333 feet. If we also look at the super elevation, or what you might call the bank of the road, we measured those, and combining the bank and the super elevation, the 35 mile an hour advisory speed that's currently posted is appropriate based on AASHTO guidelines. So in those curves, it's currently recommended to drive 35 miles an hour. We also observed that when you approach Centerfield Elementary, during school times, the signs should be flashing indicating 35 mile per hour or 10 mile per hour speed reduction in that area. Also looked at collisions on the roadway within the last 3 years, and those are indicated here. Basically, we found 6 collisions reported on Centerfield Drive, and again, this is reported only. There could be other collisions, but this is only those that are reported. 5 involved property damage, 1 injury, and 1 was actually off the roadway, actually on Curry Drive. So I'd be glad to go into each in detail, but I don't know that I need to. So based on all this information, it really seems that, again, when you look at the use, the KRS, our Oldham County subdivision regulations, the geometry, it makes sense for this road to be 35 miles an hour and not 45, hence the proposal. We had the first reading for this proposed speed limit change on January 16th. That was the previous fiscal court meeting. In accordance with our guidance in the KRS, we posted notification on site. There were signs in 4 locations. Those were posted on January 17th, indicating this upcoming hearing today. We also published the notice of the hearing in the Oldham Era on January 25th, and it's been on the Oldham County Fiscal Court website since January 17th. Since that time, I've received 4 calls. They're kind of detailed here, where one was in opposition, didn't wish to leave her name. 2 other opposition phone calls, and the 4th was really more concerned with being able to enforce the speed limit. But regardless, I think it was a call in opposition, so I recorded it as such. That's the information I have. Judge,
All
I'll
right.
proceed to the hearing.
But we'll pause with you for a second here, and we'll see, first of all, is there anybody who's come to speak in favor or in opposition of this proposed change? All right. Would you, if you're going to speak in one way or another, please stand. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the entire truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right. So I'll let those, if someone would like to speak in favor of this change, come forward at this point. Seeing no one, we'll move to anybody who would like to speak in opposition to this proposed change. I guess we have maybe 3 people here to do so, or okay. We'd ask you to state your name and address.
Amy Middlestat, 1205 Hillview Circle.
How do you spell your last name?
Mittleestat.
Milstad.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Go ahead, Amy.
I just wanted to address the reason for changing the speed limit on this road. The reason for 393 coming into place was to partially alleviate traffic on Centerfield Drive. I am part of the problem with Centerfield Drive right now. I have students at multiple schools in Oldham County, and turning left off of 393 right now onto 22 is awful. I would say perilous at times, especially after school gets out, because there's so much traffic that people are creating an impromptu always stop where they're waving each other past, and it's extremely dangerous. So I have started to take Centerfield Drive instead. And a lot of people are now. And the same thing is happening on the other end of 393. Multiple people, including myself, are hopping off of 393, whose intention was to become the main thoroughfare, getting onto Commerce Parkway, and taking Old LaGrange Road to, again, avoid an intersection where people are creating their own always stop at busy times of the day. So I would say, as far as being in support of the speed limit change or against it, it's not a matter of me being for or against it. I could care less what the speed limit is on Centerfield Drive. I'm going to take it until there's a stop sign or a red light at the intersection of 393 and 22.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right. Next person would like to speak about this subject.
I'm Gene Snyder. I reside at 4509 Centerfield Drive. I've been in the same house for 40 years. I am a runner. I have run daily on Centerfield Drive and most all the arteries in this county for 40 years, almost without missing. I have never had an issue with excessive speed on Centerfield Drive, not one single time. There have been other issues, but excessive speed is not it. A few years ago, the speed limit was changed from 55 to 45. I don't recall ever seeing a notice. The signs were just put up and it changed. I did not have a problem with it at 55. The people were very observant of me and I was observant of them, and have not had a problem with excessive speed. When it was reduced to 45, I didn't notice any change whatsoever. I do know that if we change it to 35, it's just going to slow what traffic we have down. It's not going to help anything. Yes, there are a few listed. The previous speaker noted that they're going to, started this was going to restripe the roads. I've never seen them change the speed limit ever in 40 years for restriping the roads, and they've been surely restriped more than once in 40 years. That has never happened since I've lived there. So I see no reason to do that unless you just want to spend the money to do it. Another thing is, we have not noticed, my family, we've lived there for 40 years, there have been a few fender benders and things, but I've not seen any. We've had one fatality, but it was before the road was reconstructed that I know of. Since then, I don't think there's been any fatalities, maybe a few fender benders. A lot of them probably happened in bad weather. Again, I don't know that there's any good reason other than just to spend more of the county's money to change the speed limit. That there would be no logical reason, and I would think that I'm out on that road every single day on foot, and I've never complained once, not to my family or anybody here in the county, that we need to reduce the speed limit because people are going too fast. That just hadn't happened, and I would encourage the county not to do this. Just leave it at 45. The sign blinks in front of the school when the school's in session and the buses are running. It automatically reduces the speed limit in the school zone to 35. You don't need to put up signs. The signs are there. The flashing light signs are there already. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go ahead. We'll have this lady next. Come.
Hello, my name is Leanne Goodman. I live at 1516 Lakeshore Circle. And I have driven 393 back and forth many times. It was interesting that I heard the traffic study that was done in 2019. Is that correct? About how much traffic was done on Centerfield? Yeah, 2019? Yeah, you might want to recheck that, because what's happening is people are coming back from the new Krogers and all the development you guys want to have, and they get down to 22 and they sit and they sit and they sit and they sit because they got cross traffic, but they also have people that are trying to turn onto 393 off 22. So you wait and you wait and you wait. People are tired of that. They're going through on Centerfield Drive, and while you are waiting on 22 and 393, we're turning left and going home. I'm sorry to see that John Black has left, because I'm old enough to remember him standing in Crestwood with a sign that says, "Vote for me and I'll get you a light." Anybody else remember that? We voted for him, we got a light. I realize 22 is a state highway. Things can be done. And the problem is not Centerfield Drive speed limit. Make it 15. Put in speed bumps. I could give a rip. You're going to have the traffic on it until you fix, stop with the Band-Aids, and stop the bleeding on 393, both ends. Both ends. Oh, and if you do a traffic study, try to do one not in the summer when there's no traffic. Maybe you might want to try one during the school year when there's traffic. That's when there's problems. Any school event in Butler. You know how many school events there are in Butler plus school? Go watch it sometime. Go watch it. Oh, and then if there's ever an accident on 71, which we know is rare, it only gets worse. Thanks.
Just as a point of information, the county does not do the traffic study on state highways. That's a KYTC responsibility. And we did work for a traffic light at 329 and 22. It took multiple studies in 7 years to get that light. And we could never get enough people going through there at the right time or they didn't, to justify it. But I understand what you're saying, because I've been out there too, and you cannot turn left hardly at all. It's tough. Now, one other person wanted to come forward. You still want to come up, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, hang on just a second. Wait till you get to the microphone. And Well, we require you to speak into it, though. And would you raise your right hand? You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go forward. Your
My name is Edward Batty. I live at 4401 Centerfield.
How's your last name spelled?
Just
Bay
like
or-
it sounds. Bats in a belfry, nothing upstairs. Batty.
Okay, thank you.
That's
I'm the one that
all
called and talked to Jim. As contrary, I don't care one way or the other, the speed limit. I'm wondering how you're going to enforce it. Second, I've lived there. I haven't lived there as long as my neighbor of the street. I've only been there 3 years. But in the 3 years that I've been there, I have seen traffic fly up in front of my house, fly back down in front of my house. They don't care what the speed limit says. I don't care what sign you post out there. I have a problem getting out of my driveway because people they see you, they don't stop, they don't slow down, nothing. There's geese across the road, there's deer laying in the road. My other neighbor down the street from me had 2 Newfoundland dogs that somehow managed to get out of her yard. They're like 130 pounds each. This was just like a month ago. They got hit by a car. One went off into the ditch, completely off the road. Another one got hit, same vehicle, never slowed down, never stopped, kept on going. And he was doing well over that because at a 130-pound dog, you're going to sling it that far? No, it's a problem. And as for accidents just recently happened, how about the 18th of January, when some guy decided at 10:30 at night that he missed the road because he couldn't see the side of the road, and he ran off in a ditch, figured out he had it, came out the other side, took my mailbox off, slung it up the driveway, then he spun out, did 3 or 4 trips around the road, and went off in the ditch on the other side. There's no street lights on that road. You can't see anything. I looked out my front door, and I couldn't even see his truck in the ditch on the other side. So I think if you want to really consider reducing the speed, that's fine. I don't care. I can get out. But you need to put some lights on that street for somebody to see. And I have a problem just when I'm going down because nobody wants to slow down when I'm trying to do the front yard. They don't slow down. They just kind of zoom on by. So personally, I don't care, but I think there's a lot of other issues here that need to be addressed before you consider lowering the speed limit. That's all I got.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else? Seeing no one else, we'll close the public comment and we'll go to the court now. Is there
I'm going to start with a motion.
motion that, anyone want to make a motion on this subject?
Judge, I'd like to make the motion that we reduce the speed limit on Centerfield Drive as proposed by Jim Silliman.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Now we'll have discussion among the court members. Does anyone want to make any points or say anything about it?
Can I just add some clarification to, I think, two comments that were made? One was with regard, and this was Mr. Snyder mentioned the cost. The relationship to the striping that I mentioned was simply to mention why we were out there at the time and why that's coming up now. It adds no cost. We're going to be replacing the speed limit signs anyway because those and all the other signs are faded and need to be replaced. So whether they get replaced with 35 or 45 mile an hour signs, that's going to happen. The striping, likewise, it needs to be restriped. We're just going to do that after we resurface it. So there's no additional cost. It's strictly looking at what's the appropriate speed. The speaker after that, I believe it was Ms. Goodman, questioned the traffic studies. One, what I showed were just traffic counts. Those were not studies, just counts that were taken. And Judge, you're right, those were by KYTC. Typically, those counts are an average. They're taken for several days. Typically, you'll see the tubes laying across the street. That's how they count it, and it's out there for multiple days to capture different times. And when traffic studies are conducted, typically for like planning and zoning hearings, those counts are collected during school hours for just that reason. So.
Right, Magistrate Jeffries.
Just a question for Jim. And would you outline just a little bit of what changes once, Centerfield Drive, once the 393, the new extension or new bypass got built, that became a county road, correct, Centerfield
That-
Drive?
That's correct. Centerfield Drive was part of 393, Kentucky Highway 393. So when 393 was reconstructed in its current location in around 2007, Centerfield Drive was relinquished to the county and became a county road. At that time, that's probably when it became 45 miles an hour. But again, like I mentioned, even 45 is not a typical county road. I think Commerce Parkway is one of our only 45-mile-an-hour county roads.
And we, at the road committee, has recommended that that road be repaved and restriped, and you might give a little bit of a timeline on that.
So the intent is we're working on a spring 2024 paving package, and Centerfield Drive, among other roads, are included in that. So it would be sometime before June, likely that it's restriped, repaved, restriped, new signs put up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Magistrate Tice.
When I was out there the other day, driving back and forth of the road, a couple of things that I wanted to ask Jim about is that on the curve signs going in both directions, there's a curve, and I assume the curve sign also had a speed limit on it. Will that remain at 30? The ones that were there are at 35 miles per hour. They're not 45. Will those remain at 35, or will they, if we change the speed limit to 35, will those numbers just disappear off the curve?
Right, those wouldn't be needed. They typically wouldn't be there because that's going to be the posted speed limit everywhere.
But those curve signs will remain.
The advanced warning curve signs,
The one other
yellow
thing-
diamonds would remain.
What's there, excuse me?
The yellow diamonds with the arrows pointing to the left or right would remain.
Yeah. Now, also in the curve, there are the sharp curve type of signs, and we're planning on maintaining those, aren't we?
That's correct. We call those chevrons, and we'll replace those also because they're fading and need to be
Okay.
replaced.
And the other thing is I drive back and forth to Chevyville occasionally. When those markings were off the edge of the road, the painting off the edge in the center, I think that's key to help us see in regards to what Mr. Snyder said. It's when it's dark, and people my age, which it's harder to see. And when you have the painting, it clears that corner up to where the edge of that road is. So if we do that, I think that's important.
The intent is to replace both the center line and the edge lines or fog lines, whatever you want to call them. Typically, a road that carries that volume, we wouldn't stripe, but since it has always been and it serves the school, we intend to replace those stripes.
Yeah, and where the curve is, it's kind of dark in that area. And then, of course, we'll change. Most people drive a little faster than the speed limit, somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 10 miles an hour. So I don't think that would hurt, because that would, mentally, most people might drive that not at the new speed limit of 35, but maybe doing it at a 40, 45 versus a 55. So, thank you.
Magistrate Woosley.
Mr. Silliman, would bringing this road to 35 miles an hour bring it in line with other county roads that are similar in size and length?
That is correct.
Okay. And currently, there is a school zone that lowers it 10 miles an hour. Will this, when we lower it to 35, will that lower that school zone then to 25?
That's correct.
Okay, that's all I need. Thank you.
Magistrate Likens.
Thank you. I know there's a formula that you go by according to the horizontal curves and vertical curves on a road and the width of the road. What is the average width of this road?
They're two 10-foot lanes.
2 10
continuously.
And I think you really need to pay attention to the reflectorization of the lines, especially the edge lines, because I've noticed that some, they just paint white and you can't see them at nighttime that good. So I would put maybe spec extra reflectorization beads on the edge lanes.
Okay.
Magistrate Hounds.
In previous changes to speed limits, it has been a petition or a, whatever you want to call it, from the residents. Have we had residents petition to do this speed limit change, or was this by happenstance to what we're doing with the paving and the striping? And
It's the latter. It's happenstance to observing that it did not meet county standard, or it didn't meet county standards. It was just higher than any road we typically have of that nature.
Okay. And then, as it relates to the roadway that we're talking about in the curves, all that's within, I mean, the 35 mile an hour, I guess Magistrate Tice can answer my question. The curves they're navigable at 35 miles an hour.
Well, again, so when I looked at the super elevation of the road, which is the bank or the slope of the road, and the curves, that is consistent with what's recommended in AASHTO guidance, which is our state highway transportation road design. It's consistent with 35 miles an hour. That's why the advisory speed of 35 is on those curved signs.
Okay. And is there a code or a reason or whatever, hypothetically, if we kept it at 45, we could drop the school zone speed limit down to 25?
So
Is there rationale to drop the schools?
I think you can only drop at 10 miles an hour.
Well, not on Westport Road. Westport Road, it's 45 and it drops down to 25 in school zones.
And they may have gotten special legislative approval, but typically it's a 10-mile to just be able to do that.
But if it's a county road, what do we have to follow there?
Probably KRS. I would have to check the specific, but that's kind of the guidelines we've always followed.
Because I guess if the question, to me, my support of lowering the speed limit has to do with the school being on the road, keeping the speed limit lower because of the buses and all the other traffic that goes along with it. I just don't see this overwhelming support to lower the speed limit. There's not this huge petition to lower it, or we had 0 people speak in favor of lowering it. I understand it doesn't meet county standards. I perfectly understand that. But I guess I didn't know if there was a reason to get to 25 for the school traffic, and if there is, then let's address the situation separately and not lump it all together.
Well, again, I'm just looking at the road as a whole.
Understand.
And all the characteristics meet what we would have for a 35 mile an hour speed limit, so.
Magistrate Hawkins.
I wanted to say a couple things. Most of the opposition seems to be regarding the 393 and 22 intersection more than the Centerfield Drive speed limit reduction. A couple of things to address. When you come off of 22, it's 45. Should we bring that down to 25 in front of the school zone? Then it would increase back up to 45 just to brake, to go around the bend at 35, to then speed back up to have to brake again to get to 393. So it's confusing. So what's proposed here today is come off of 22, 35. You're right there at Centerfield Elementary. During the hours when it's blinking, 25, which is standard when you have an elementary school in a residential area, 35 down to 25, and then pick it back up to 35 after you get past the school zone, round the bend 35, and then out to 393 where you're slowing down to take a left or right anyway.
Correct.
So it would go 35, 25, 35, which is easier than trying to navigate how fast or slow you're supposed to go as it currently stands. It's kind of been I would say, not necessarily neglected, but it's kind of been a forgotten about road. We got 393, and that's a highly traveled road as according to your traffic counts. And but I think it's time to put some love back into the road. And there have been incidences not necessarily reported of going off the road, pulling yourself out, getting your spouse to come, use the truck to get you out, or your mother or father to get you out. And those have not been reported. They've been talked about, and they've been talked about with me and maybe even the engineer. And so you can kind of lump those into as an additional incident count to the accidents that you spoke of. Regarding when you have a newly paved road, and one that is straight, and we talked about this earlier today in economic development, there is a tendency, once something's repaved, to perhaps drive a little bit faster on it, and it's a little bit easier to drive. And so I think getting out in front of the speed limit now before the really nice repaving job is being proactive instead of kind of coming back later and saying, whoa, people are flying down this road, and then being reactive, as sometimes government tends to be. So Jim and I and Road Committee and me as the magistrate in that area are just trying to be proactive with this to help keep the kids safe. As one of the board members who is on that road said, 25 miles per hour is being proactive with keeping the children at the school safe. And let's do what we can to keep them as safe as possible. Regarding lights, I think that the person who moved here 3 years ago had stated, and Magistrate Tice had stated, the reflective lines as we restripe will help with that so that you don't run off the road when you're driving. And it will also continue to allow us to have our beautiful dark skies, which may be a reason why Mr. Snyder moved out here 3 years ago. And I know that's an attractive quality to Oldham County. 3 years. That I was taught. Okay, your last name must not be Snyder. I'm sorry. Okay, so I was speaking on when you were talking about the lights out there, and I think not having a bunch of street lights is an attractive quality that brings people to Oldham County, because you can go outside and you can see the dark skies, and it doesn't look like the city. And but the reflective stripes, when you have your headlights on, will keep people on the road, and a couple of magistrates down there had mentioned that. So I'm obviously in favor of reducing the speed limit here. And regarding the other issues, I think that is something that we can discuss as far as the 393-22 situation, as well as the backing up of traffic in front of Centerfield Elementary. And those will maybe be for a different discussion, but today it's just the speed limit reduction.
Measure die.
I'll make this short and sweet. Mr. Sullivan, you're the county engineer, right?
Yes, sir.
And you should be our subject matter expert on this, correct?
Yes, sir.
I don't know of any. I know of one engineer on this court up here, but I don't think he's a traffic guy. So you're the guy who should be telling us what should be done. I get tickled by it. In the subdivision I live in, I'm an HOA president, and everybody complains about speeding. They're speeding. I say, well, and I've had the police out there when they get some people and they go away, and then the speeding gets worse. And, it's a never-ending battle. I believe the chief would probably bear me out on that. But the thing is, this is what bothers me. You're talking about 45 to 35 and 25. If you could explain to me why I got 110 mile an hour on my speedometer, then I could probably relate to that. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're driving that road today, I've been on that road, nice road. If you're doing 45 and you load to 35, they're still going to be 40. They're still going to do exactly what they did yesterday. I don't care if you put the sign up or not. People have a comfort level of how fast they'll move. You can't run over the car in front of you. You don't like to get a parade behind you. So you're going to move with the traffic, regardless of what that sign says. And talking about the reflective lines, I'm telling you right now, I've had a few car wrecks, and I have yet to tell anybody that car was thrown off the road because the reflective line wasn't reflective enough. It all goes back to personal, what's your personal feeling about it? So I'm going to go with you. You're the guy hard to do this. So I'll vote to lower it.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, Manager Lawson, you're the only person who hadn't commented on this subject. You want to say anything about it?
He just woke up, Judge.
I tell you.
Short and sweet.
Quickly.
I just don't like
We
to
got to be
speak.
somewhere at 6 o'clock.
I just don't like to say things just to hear myself talk. So Jim recommended something.
All
That's the way I'm going to vote.
I'm just kidding you, yeah.
Well, no, I'm just serious. I mean,
All right.
you
Got a
know, lot of
motion on the
people just like
floor
to
and a
hear themselves
second.
talk.
Given the fact, we'll take a roll call vote here.
Magistrate Helms.
Yes.
Magistrate Dye.
Yes.
Magistrate Likens.
Yes.
Magistrate Woosley.
Yes.
Magistrate Logston.
Yes.
Magistrate Tice.
Yes.
Magistrate Jeffries.
Yes.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Yes.
Judge Vogel.
Looks like that decision's already made to me, so I'll support the group, yes. Okay. Motion carries, reduce the speed limit to meet the county standard. All right. Thank you, all right. Next item on the agenda here today, do we,
Judge, may I make a request?
yes?
May I move Ms. Ackline up because she has to run, and she is presenting the, would you tell me again what you're presenting? The resolution.
Before, just a minute, Stephanie. Ma'am, what was that one lady's name? Ms. Goodman, was it?
Mrs. Goodman?
Goodman?
Before you leave, do think we will contact KYTC and see about a red light at 22 and 393. It's a flashing light.
blinking.
Isn't that a flashing light? It's not a red light, is it?
It's blinking. It's a flashing.
It's a blinking light. I think it's a reasonable, I don't know if it make a lot of people angry or not, or whatever, but I do know that's a problem out there, and people do need an opportunity to have it safely turn left. So we will pursue that. I can't say where it'll go, but I'm asking the county engineer to look into it. Lights, red lights cost in the $300,000 range. Last time we did one, I believe.
Yeah.
So they're not cheap, and the state won't jump on one just because you ask for it. But we can try to see what can happen out there. Yeah. Pardon?
The top end of 393 is
Yeah. Well,
that's even worse than the bottom.
well,
You're
you see
talking
it.
about by Clayton.
The bottom end is going to change when the bridge, when the road is.
You've got to be at an event at Oldham County High School. See how long it takes you to get there.
I know. Well, the bridge, when the interstate's widen, the whole bridge operation's going to change down there. But you see, the lights they have added have put safety in there.
I should live so long.
I understand.
Judge, disregard my request with Ms. Ackline. I can present for her so she can go.
Okay. All right. Okay, sorry, okay.
On 393 going south, as you go under I-71, we have 5 lights. There's only, at that intersection, there's only one straight through and there's one left-hand turn, but we have 5 lights. Now, we need 3 of them, but we have an access if they find one, I know where 2 are located they can use.
I understand. Well, the lights have cleared up a dangerous situation there, and we'll see what happens with it. But when the bridge comes out, it's going to be redone. So we don't know. Maybe we'll come up with an extra light.
Well, I think we need a light.
The installation is as much than anything. Okay. We better keep moving here because we got to be somewhere later, or a number of us do. What do we have next here? We have zoning map amendment. This is first reading at 1207 South Highway 53 LaGrange. Brian Fogel, you want to talk about this, please?
Yes, real briefly, Judge. Brian Fogel, Assistant Director, Oldham County Planning Development Services. We're requesting that you all have your first reading today for a decision that the Planning Commission forwarded to you all in late December, and schedule the public hearing and second reading on your second meeting of this month, which would be February 20th. We've done our housekeeping chore of making sure that the adjoining property owners have been mailed notices, that a legal advertisement will appear in the Oldham Mirror this Thursday. The property was posted for general public notice yesterday, and we've also notified the applicant and the applicant's representative that they need to be here on February 20th for the second reading and public hearing.
All right. Thank you. Next item is a first reading of and that'll be posted on the website, first reading of a smoke detector ordinance, KOC 24-610-405. Magistrate Hounds.
Actually, I'm going to give this to Magistrate Dye.
This is the first reading on a smoke detector ordinance where when the house changes hands, correct me since you're the real estate agent here, Mr. Hound, when the paperwork at the closing, there'll be a document in there that states that there is a working, is it still called a smoke detector? Okay, a working smoke detector on the premise. And if there's not, then we'll have to, the ordinance will come into effect, and then take it from there. The district court would, or probably code enforcement would take care of it from there. So you all seen the ordinance. It's something that came from Bullitt County. We basically took theirs, and we plagiarized it. I'll just be honest about it. Changed a few words, and we left Bullitt County where it should have been Oldham. And it's over. Now, imagine how one was this far. They killed the little girl, or what was it? Did somebody burn up in a house? And that's what brought all this thing on. People are doing it.
There was not working smoke detectors in a residence in Bullitt County, and 2 or 3 people perished.
Yeah, there was he said 2 or 3 people perished. So that's why we're doing this now. It's hopefully the people, when they move into a home use or their new or apartment dwelling or such as that they will have the comfort of a working smoke detector. And I've heard now, in speaking to Magistrate Hounds, that I know back in the day, we used to steal the batteries out of the smoke detector to put in their kids' toys, because they were C's or D's or 9s or whatever they needed. But now it seems that he's told me that most of the batteries now you can't get to them. It's a whole different setup. So that's basically what this is about. Put a little more safety in someone's home, and someone else has to be responsible for doing it. So that's it.
All right, we'll have a discussion about this at the next meeting, and we'll see. That's first reading. It'll appear in the paper. And all right, next one, contracts and resolutions. Mr. Silliman again with the bid awards, survey, design, engineering services for Rollington Road.
Yes, at the last fiscal court meeting, the January 16th fiscal court meeting, you opened up proposals from consultants for the design, survey and design of Rollington Road from Houston Lane to Bentbrook Place. Kapoor and Associates was the low responsible bidder based on our review of those, and I'm recommending that you award that project to Kapoor and Associates.
What was the amount?
I'm sorry, thank you. It's in the amount of $24,450. And this is...
I move that we award that bid to that $24,450.
I was just going to add that this is consistent with budgeting in the fiscal court or fiscal year budget.
Second.
Moving second. Is there any discussion on this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is the bid award for the pickleball court at Wendell Moore.
Gary Parsons, at last court.
Can't hear.
Can't hear? That's
I don't
unusual.
know why.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay. Gary Parsons, Director of Parks. At the last fiscal court meeting, we opened bids for 2 new pickleball courts to be built at Wendell Moore Park. And the low bid on that was Wingham Paving. I'd like to recommend moving forward with Wingham Paving to do that project. Their bid came in at $48,693.10.
Judge, I'll make the motion that we award the pickleball courts to Wingham Paving for $48,693.10.
Second.
All right. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on this?
Where are they going to be located?
They're located just below the pool, behind the pool.
The old soccer place.
There used to be
volleyball place.
Volleyball courts, yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Magistrate Hawkins.
And I can't remember, did you say that they were subbing out the line stripers for that?
No,
We
it was
talked
all
about
part of
this.
the bid.
Okay. So they have somebody on staff to stripe for pickleball
Yes.
specifically, and it's not
Yes.
going to be tennis and pickleball?
No, it is just pickleball.
Okay. Okay.
Any further discussion? Motion made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Judge, could I ask Gary just one question?
Oh, sure.
Could you just give us a very short synopsis, is the status of the pool? How, it looks like we're going to be on schedule for spring opening?
Quick status, it doesn't have any water.
Okay.
But it will.
Sorry.
But it will.
Okay.
No, they had some delays with the weather and the deck drains, when they were trying to drill those, put those in, they hit rock all the way around the pool, so that put them behind schedule. But as of right now, they're still telling me that we should open Memorial Day weekend.
All right.
They
Thanks,
may
sir.
take a little longer to do some of their work, but we should be able to open then.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next item has to do with the equipment grant application resolution. Magistrate Hawkins.
Judge, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize you to sign the grant application for submission and also sign the acceptance form if awarded the grant, which will allow the purchase of equipment and/or educational materials, which will improve the operations at the Oldham County Recycling Center.
I'll second.
We spoke about this today in actually through the last couple of months at Environmental Recycling and Utilities Committee meeting, and so we are recommending this to the fiscal court today.
All right. Motion and second that I be allowed to sign this grant for equipment, recycling equipment. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, are you going to take care of that one as well, Magistrate Hawkins?
Yep. Judge, I'd like to make the motion that we allow you to sign the grant application for submission and also sign the acceptance form if awarded the grant, which will fund a household hazardous waste collection event for the well-being of the county. And this also came through ERU, and this is a grant that we apply for annually.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this grant application? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Road Committee reports and recommendations from Engineer Sullivan.
Thank you. Yes, the first we have is a recommendation to release the erosion control surety for the reserves at Spree Section 2. As usual, we performed inspections to confirm that the project was constructed in accordance with the approved plans and county standards. And we are recommending that fiscal court release the bond in the amount of $50,000. And this did go through Road Committee and has been approved by Road Committee.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next item.
So the next two will have two parts, one for bond surety release and the other to accept roads into the county road system. The first is Heather Ridge Phase 1. We recommend that it's a letter of credit in the amount of $49,690 be released.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I'm going to discuss this. Heather Ridge is off 1793, correct?
No, sir.
No.
It's off Cedar Point Road.
Cedar Point Road, my mistake, sorry.
It's okay.
All right.
Again, seeing this was a performance surety release, we'll also request that roads be taken into.
Okay, we haven't voted on
I'm sorry.
releasing the bond yet, but I think we've got a motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Now you can go
Okay.
forward now.
I was trying to get you out early.
Huh?
So next, I'll recommend that the fiscal court take the roads. It's Chelsea Meadow Way, which is approximately a portion of Chelsea Meadow Way, about 625 feet. Devonshire Drive, a portion of being about 490 feet. Greenwood Court A, 316 feet, and Greenwood Court B, 258 feet. And again, recommend that fiscal court take these into the Oldham County Road Maintenance System.
Judge, I'll move that we accept these roads as outlined by our county engineer into the county road system. And that came through the road committee with a recommendation, a positive recommendation.
All right. You made that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on these roads? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, next I'm recommending fiscal court release the performance surety for Heather Ridge Phase 3. It's a letter of credit in the amount of $11,648.
Make the motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you.
So secondly, with the roads that were included in that bond or a letter of credit, Chelsea Meadow Way, a distance of about 430 feet, and Heatherwood Drive, approximately 192 feet. I'm recommending the fiscal court take those into the Oldham County Road Maintenance System.
So moved.
Second.
And that is the total distance of those roads, right?
That is correct.
Right.
Well, no, I'm sorry. It's the total distance of those roads within
Phase-
that phase.
Phase 3.
Because there's 4 phases of construction, and each has a portion of that road.
That's the reason you're giving us the length of
That is
each road.
correct.
Now
That
I
is
understand. Thank you.
Yeah. And Judge, this also came through Road Committee with a positive recommendation.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right.
Lastly, I'd like to recommend fiscal court release the erosion control surety, which is a bond in the amount of $12,200, and this is for the Independence Park patio homes located right behind Pillar, formerly Apple Patch.
Okay.
Judge, I also move that we release the erosion control surety on Independence Park patio homes.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Now we're at the Finance Committee report, Magistrate Hounds.
Yes, thank you, Judge. On January 29th, 2024, letter was issued by the Department of Local Governments for magistrates, commissioners, justice of the peace, and county coroners for a CPI increase of 3.4%. We have talked to, the Finance Committee met today in a special call meeting and approved to move the CPI recommendation forward to court. We learned yesterday in a DLG, Department of Local Governments meeting, that this should be retroactive to January 1st because the CPI is for the calendar year. So I'd like to make a motion that we increase the magistrates and coroner's salary by the 3.4%, retroactive to 1/1/2024.
All right, moved and seconded that a CPI of 3.4 be awarded to the magistrates and to the coroner, right? And retroactive to the first of the year, of this year.
Yes, sir.
All right. Discussion?
Magistrate Hounds, would you have an issue of separating those magistrates on one vote and coroner on another?
I don't have an issue, but the letter is directed to the county,
Both.
to the magistrates, county commissioners, and it's one group if you read it in the statute. We're all,
Okay.
there's groups together, unfortunately. There's the elected official group, and then there's the rest of us in our group. So I'm doing it as per the statute.
I just have an issue with raising our own salary, and I wanted to keep the coroner separate because I believe he should get the increase, but I'm okay with leaving it.
Well, this is not a salary increase. It reflects the cost of living adjustment.
I understand.
The
It's
actual
an increase.
salary increase can only come about in the fourth year of a term.
I understand, but it's still an increase.
Seems like a salary increase.
It's a consumer price index is
I
what the
understand.
CPI stands for.
I understand.
Would you want to address them, please, now?
All right, we've had a motion and a second on this. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries 7-9.
7 to 2.
2.
Excuse me, 7-2.
I understood your math, guys.
Right.
That's the CPI increase right there.
Okay, now we're at the personnel actions here, and I believe Tina Schaaf has entered the room to discuss those.
For you this afternoon, we have a police department new hire, David Williams, as a 3-year lateral at $32.11. That's the base hourly rate, and that'll be effective on the 12th of February.
Motion
Judge, I'll
to
make a
approve.
motion, we hire David Williams.
Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The second one is the new hire at dispatch, Cody Tanner, as a telecommunicator 2, $28.24 per hour, and that's effective on the 13th of this month.
I move that we hire Cody Tanner, telecommunicator 2 at dispatch.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right.
Welcome.
Now, board appointment. I mentioned here earlier when I made a motion to reappoint Mike Prather to the Code Enforcement Board, that Mike actually had a conflict and said he would serve until another individual could be identified to take his place. I've identified that individual, Dewey Woltering. Many of you know Dewey. Dewey will do an excellent job. He's been an outstanding public servant for his entire career until he retired. So I'd like to, I'll accept Mike Prather's resignation and like to appoint Dewey Woltering to fulfill the unexpired term of Mike Prather until the 20th of January, 2027.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now, we had second public comment here. I assume there's no one that, okay. What's that? Right, I see that. Yeah. All right.
Good afternoon. I'll try and make this short too. I'm Jim Allen, 1416 Oldham View Drive. I'm a retired professional engineer and currently the president of Crystal Lake Club, as you probably all know already. Today you've heard the first reading of the amendment for the zoning amendment on the 20th. I guess it'll be the second reading and you'll have more information prior to that. But I thought it was a good thing to come here today and give you a little bit of background, more to encourage you that it's a large amount of information. I think it was like 6 hours of video between the technical review committee and the commission meeting. And I thought I'd just offer you a few bullet points that you can look at, maybe speed up the process a little bit. Does this overhead work? So the planning commission had a tie vote on this. And I thought I would give you a little bit of background because this is very important to us, I think. And I'll give you a bit of perspective. First of all, what we're talking about here is the C1 here, that little square at the bottom of the C1 here, is a lot that's being considered for squeezing the Christian Brothers. Although this is not about Christian Brothers, this is about any kind of automotive repair shop on that site. And this little squiggly line is the creek that goes down to Crystal Lake. I'd like when you take a look at that, if you would consider some of the stuff that you should probably pay attention to make a good decision coming up. First of all, look at the discussion after the vote for the recommendation. There was a lot of discussion about the pond, the detention pond will be on the site, and the pollution control interest issues, given that Curry's Creek is in our watershed and Crystal Lake is only a few feet away. And I'll be talking to Mr. Solomon between now and the 20th to figure out how much progress we've made in trying to figure out some of those issues. One of the things that we were talking about, and with the discussion that happened after the vote, was how do you address things like antifreeze and other water-soluble pollutants. The typical kind of separation methods we use, like at O'Reilly's, doesn't work for that. So you can take a look at that and see the kind of the interchange, the data back and forth. Also, there was some testimony there that the county doesn't have the resources, that is the people and the training necessary to enforce pollution issues. And I understand that. I mean, we're short on resources. It takes a certain amount of testability, training and equipment to test for pollution control for things like this. However, the county's illicit discharge ordinance gives the authority and responsibility to protect the watershed to the county. So we'd like you to take a look at the illicit discharge ordinances and see if you read it the same way I do, and consider that in part of your consideration when you go to vote on the 20th. I want to point out again that this is not an issue regarding commercial 1 zoning development.
Sir, I have I need to ask Barry Baxter. Barry, if this comes in front of the court one day, should we be hearing this now?
So Mr. Allen called me earlier, and I have to be honest with you, Mr. Allen, I think you've probably gone beyond what you and I talked about.
Okay.
But, you know, I indicated to Mr. Allen, I think he was going to come and maybe I misunderstood you, and I certainly apologize for that. I understood you were going to give the magistrates some information about the length of time that they might need to review the record in the case.
Right.
I think you're kind of getting to the point you might be testifying
Okay,
a little bit.
I'm happy to stop.
Yeah.
But what I had received was a message that because we're not sworn in, because the magistrate should be given instructions to, you know, ignore stuff's not in the hearing, that it didn't matter what I presented, I could expand a little bit. But if that's your recommendation.
I think you and I might have.
Okay.
And I apologize.
No problem.
He called me and told me he was coming today, and I made it. And my understanding, and again, I apologize, Mr. Allen, was that he was going to discuss with you all the amount of review that would be necessary to be educated about this particular item that is going to come before you in a couple weeks.
That's fine. I mean, the reason I called the attorney was to make sure I didn't overstep it.
Well,
So I'm more than happy.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
I'm
we're
glad
not
that-
supposed to be hearing stuff before it happens.
Wait a minute now.
Sir.
I'm going to weigh in on this. This is a public comment period. A business has come and asked to locate in this gentleman's neighborhood. He has a right to stand up and say that he has concerns about it. And he can come and say it at the next meeting as well, but I don't think this public comment period is shut off on what we can talk about here, just because an issue is going to come before the court. A business has announced
why I
it
asked
wants
the
to come
county
to a
attorney.
neighborhood. The people in the neighborhood have a right to express an opinion about it. Okay, so how far that goes, we limit these comments to 4 minutes, and they can come and say, we don't like the idea of this idea coming, but we'll decide the merits of it at the next meeting. But I think I personally don't have a problem with it.
Well, then let me not, I don't want to testify on the
Okay.
materials, but I would like to show you something that matters to me. If the overhead, can I have the overhead back? And that the drainage in the detention pond for this drains directly into my backyard. And so I do have this thing to the right, that's where the end of that culvert ends up. So it's important to add a human factor to this thing, I think, and that's what I wanted to add to this discussion. So thank you for your time, and I hope I
talk
haven't-
about it more next time,
Yes.
but it's okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We've got word of a business here, so, okay. Is there anybody else who'd like to address the court?
I wonder.
All right, see no one, will close public comment. Go on to the next item on the agenda. That's the closed session pursuant to KRS 61.810 subsection 1G to discuss a specific economic development opportunity as open discussions could adversely affect said discussions. And we're going to have the people who will invite to this closed session are David Bizanis, Sandy Hamilton, Kevin Nuss, Barry Baxter, and Ryan Steele. Okay. All right, is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Michael, where'd you go? Oh, come on. You ready? All right, we'll go back into session here now at 5:20. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
All right, thank you.
Judge, I'd like to make a motion that we approve to allow you to sign a letter of incentive for a possible business to move into Oldham County.
Second.
All right. Moved and seconded that I'd be able to provide a support letter for an incentive business we've learned about. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We're going to wind up this meeting in just a second here, but we'll see if the magistrates have any final comments. Magistrate Likens, do you have?
Nothing today, Judge. Thank you.
All right. Magistrate Tice?
Nothing, thank you.
Magistrate Woosley?
Two things, Judge. Dennis Tegetoff is an Oldham County EMS employee that retired this past month with 26 years of service. Just wanted to recognize his service. And finally, for those residents on Jacob Drive, there was a water leak discovered today. It's a pretty significant water leak that's running down around the 6500 block. The water department's aware of it, and they'll be out there tomorrow to fix it. It's not impacting anybody's water usage, but if you see water running down Jacob Drive, the water department is aware of it. That's all I've got, Judge.
Magistrate Jeffries?
I'm good, Judge.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Hounds?
One thing, magistrates and judge, we have Legislative Day on February the 21st. Been working on getting meetings with our legislative representative. Please let me know your priorities so we can put that list together.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Hawkins?
I wanted to thank the magistrates for supporting the efforts to improve and continue improvements on Centerfield Drive. I appreciate that. And I just wanted to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day. That's all I have.
Okay. Magistrate Dye?
Nothing.
All right, and how about Magistrate Logston?
Well, I just wanted to say the blasting has started on Highway 329 and 329, so please be careful when you go through there. The speed limit's dropped to 35 now, and people are still doing 65. So please be careful when you go through there.
All right, I think most of the people around Fiscal Court are understand that the bicentennial has begun for Oldham County. We're celebrating our 200th birthday on February 15th at the at the Rob Morris Chapel over at the History Center at 11:30. We're going to have a big cake cutting and kickoff celebration for a year-long bicentennial. Pardon? It's at 11? Okay, well, good thing I found out because I've been late, wasn't I? The 15th. The 15th of this month.
Next Thursday.
Right, week from Thursday. So, we've got some banners going up and signs around the county, and we've got challenge coins coming, and other memorabilia will be provided, and we'll be linking the bicentennial to existing events, plus creating some new ones to help our county celebrate the 200 years of success. So encourage everyone to take part in, what we do at a 70,000 person birthday party. I don't know, but take part in it where you can and
11.
Be proud of our county. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Thank you.
Aye.